this is a HubSpot agent. I've put in my HubSpot API token here, which means we now have the capability to talk to HubSpot. What makes this unique is that we have not taught it anything about HubSpot or the HubSpot API. The question I asked it was, give me the top open deals by value, along with useful information like who's the owner, who's the client, what stage it is in, etc. And as a developer, it says, here is the approach that I'm going to use. And it actually writes the code to connect to HubSpot, make multiple requests, and get the result. The LLM gives us the code, we execute it, and it turns out that it failed. And now the self-correction capability comes in. It notes that this error message is trying to access something, but maybe it's undefined for some deals. Here is a potential fix, try this out. So the developer then takes that input, rewrites the code, and now we get some results. These are in fact the actual HubSpot deals. But the validator says you haven't completed the task. Here are a bunch of things that you haven't done. For example, the owner field is returned as unknown, the client field is empty, so you're still not done. Go ahead. The developer again takes this, writes another piece of code, and now we have slightly better results. At least there is a client field, but it is empty. The validator then says there are a bunch of unknowns and so on. And well, I told it to stop after 3 attempts. And it says I have to complete this task. For one thing that is clear, which is we need the API layer. We need to be able to easily access multiple kinds of APIs. That much is clear. Any API can be replaced by an LLM layer, because we can write code with enough reliability and even if not, correct it with a certain degree of confidence and let it run for 2-3 minutes. That 2-3 minutes is expanding to 10 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, depending on which model, who's providing what domain. So yeah, it can do independent work. Let's take a document management system, and I'm going to simplify and say Google Drive. So if, like you saw me connecting to Gmail, I connected to Google Drive. Google Drive has a search API. So I can say, find me such documents and move this document here, open and read the contents of this document. Google Sheets has the ability to pick portions of a worksheet and extract that. So to the extent that the APIs allow us to do things with the data set, whatever we can do through the API will work through an LLM. The beauty is the majority of SaaS applications today are designed in a way that they themselves use an API, which they also expose to the external world. So if there's a document management system or documentation, workflow or infrastructure, as long as it's not archaic, we should be able to interact with it the way any program would be able to interact with it. Workflow or infrastructure. As long as it's not archaic, we should be able to interact with it the way any program would be able to interact with it.